Sonic series has had its ups and downs over the years. Of course, not every game can be a winner, but sometimes you need to have that AAA title that's going to sell units and save your console. This is where Sonic didn't come through for Sega. It was at a time where Nintendo was to launch Super Mario 64 and Sony would release Crash Bandicoot, two games that would take platforming into 3D. And if Sega was to compete, they had to take their beloved mascot and finally give him the 3D romp he deserved. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be and the project failed and slowly faded away. Today on Gaming Mysteries, I'll be talking about the unreleased game, Sonic X-treme. Development for Sonic X-treme began on a few other consoles prior to the Saturn. At one point, it was supposed to be on the Genesis and later on the 32X. At that point, it was under the name Sonic Mars, and would feature characters based off of the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon show. However, when it was decided that the project would require much more power, and seeing as how the 32X bombed, development was shifted to the Sega Saturn. The game was to be developed by Sega Technical Institute, a US-based developer, and the game's concept would be an extension of the previous Sonic games. The game would retain its platformer roots, but the levels were developed in a tubular mode which allowed for level rotation and gravity directions, so in a sense, the levels moved around Sonic. The game would also make use of a fisheye lens to give it a spherical appearance. The game would shift views for boss fights though, and the boss engine eventually became a game of its own. The developer taking inspiration from Knights, which did lead to some discourse with the team as a whole. In 1996, the game was shown off to Sega of Japan representatives so they could see how the game was progressive, and feedback was lukewarm at best. But they were impressed by the boss engine and requested the team to rework the entire game with that engine. And it was at this point where things began to fall apart, thus leading to the game's demise. The team was running short on manpower. Many members of the team became ill due to how much work they were putting into the game. And to make matters worse, the game had to be out before Christmas in order to compete with the release of Super Mario 64 and Crash Bandicoot. With the man who was both leading the technology end as well as creating the game's engine ill, the project was indefinitely delayed, and it was announced that the game would not be released in time for Christmas. At this point, the game was officially cancelled. Now, the cancellation of Sonic X-treme is often attributed as the reason why the Saturn failed in the West, but just from looking at the footage, I don't think this would have saved the console. It doesn't look terrible, it seems fun enough, but could this have competed with Mario and Crash? I doubt it, but that's just my thoughts on it. In any case, without a Sonic game for release, Sega decided to release a different Sonic game instead. A Saturn port of Sonic 3D Blast. Yay! I'm so incredibly not excited about that at all. The closest Sonic would get to a 3D adventure on the Saturn would be a portion of Sonic Jam and everyone's favorite, Sonic R. No, I'm not going to play the music. You owe me. However, Sonic wouldn't see his true 3D debut until Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast. So that's it. The game was cancelled. End of story, right? Well, kinda. A test engine of Sonic X-treme, believe it or not, exists. Kinda. This disc containing the engine was auctioned off to an anonymous fellow in 2005, the footage from which you're seeing right now. Now you may notice that the HUD is different and, well, everything looks different. From what I've read, and this could be wrong due to conflicted sources, this isn't actually Sonic X-treme. Allegedly, it's instead a demo disc of sorts, and it's been said that the demo bears a striking resemblance to Sonic X-treme's boss engine, and that it may or may not be running on the Knights engine. But without the ability to look at the game's files, it's hard to say. There are rumors that this or another early version of the game are circulating the internets though, so I wish you luck in your search for them. But that's Sonic X-treme. It's hard to say whether or not this game would have ended up being great and gone on to save the Saturn, but my guess is that that wouldn't have been the case. But hey, anything's possible. In any case, it's a Sonic game we'll never get to play, and another in a long line of games that will never see the light of day. Unless hackers have something to say about it. This has been Gaming Mysteries. Thanks for watching.